Hi everyone, today we're going to be discussing how to report child abuse. This topic can be very heavy, so I made the background playful in order to hopefully ease some of your minds and make this an easy topic to talk about. Recognizing and reporting child abuse is a very important thing to know how to do. So let's go over the types of abuse. There's physical abuse, which is a purposeful harm to a child, or when you put a child in a situation where they can lead to harm. There's neglect, which is the failure to provide basic needs for a child, such as food, shelter, clothes, affection, or just overall supervision. There's sexual abuse, which is pretty self-explanatory. That's any sexual activity with a child. There is emotional abuse, and this is when you isolate, belittle, or ignore a child, or just overall destroy a child's confidence with your words. And then there's something relatively new. You've probably heard about popular cases where this happens. And that's when someone gives false information about their child in order to receive unnecessary medical treatment. So here are some signs of abuse in children. By no means will every child show every single symptom on this list. And likewise, as some of these signs are not they're not always going to mean there's abuse, but if you notice like 2 or 3 things off this list and you just have that gut feeling, these are some signs to just help you direct you when you have suspicions. You know, there's going to be depression, anxiety, or unusual fears. They might attempt at running away, or they just won't want to go home at the end of the school day, which is a big red flag because what kid really doesn't want to go home at the end of the school day? There might be self-harm or attempts at suicide. There's going to be dramatic changes in behavior, or there's going to be unexplained injuries or bruising that they're going to try to explain, but it's going to be very inconsistent with the injury on their body. With sexual abuse, and I know this is hard to hear, but there might be possible blood in the child's underwear. They're going to exhibit sexual behavior or knowledge that's just very inappropriate for that age, or they're going to inappropriately touch other children because that's what happens at home. So they think that's what they're supposed to do at school. There might be social withdrawal, or on the other end, they might desperately seek attention through misbehavior or just overall asking for hugs or asking if you like them, and they just want confidence boost where that confidence is not at home. And then along with mostly, this might apply more to neglect, but it can apply to others. There's going to be poor hygiene, no clothes or supplies for the child. They're just going to be hiding food for later because they know there's not food at home. Or there's just going to be poor school attendance because people who abuse their child obviously probably don't want other people to know that. And so we'll keep them out of school for a couple of days sick when they're not really sick. So along with child showing signs of abuse, parents can show that they're abusing their child by their own behavior. They might show little concern for the child when you bring up a situation that they have. They might belittle or berate the child in front of you beyond the normal discipline that you would see from a parent. They might limit the child's contact with others or offer unconvincing explanation for their child's injury, like a child can, the adult can. And they might even ask you to perform corporal punishment on their child, which you would think wouldn't be something they would do, but it has happened. So it's good to keep in mind that if a parent asks you to hurt their child when they're in trouble, they're probably doing that at home. So here's what to do if a child is telling you about abuse. First, you need to listen. You need to be patient because this is a hard thing for them to tell you. Try your best not to act shocked or appear that you don't believe them. They're going to stop talking to you. They're going to take back what they said, and that's really hard to report abuse when a child takes back what they said. Reassure them that what they are doing is right by telling you, and tell them that you are taking them seriously, but you will have to tell someone that it's going to help them. You don't want to blindside them. You don't want them to have a few days later someone show up and ask them questions about something they thought was a secret. Do not confront the abuser. That goes without saying. Do not ask leading questions such as, did your dad hurt you? Don't put any names. Just be like, hey, how did you get hurt? How did you get that bruise? That's okay. Don't ask them a specific name. And then report what the child said to you as soon as possible. That's important because you need it fresh in your head. And if that child is in danger, you want them to get help sooner rather than later. So this is how you report if you suspect abuse. Here's the child abuse number for Oregon. It's 1-855-503-7233. If a child is in immediate danger, don't call that number. You need to call 911. And here's what they're going to ask you if you do report abuse. They're going to ask for the child's name, their age, their address, whether they're male or female, their school name, their parent's name, and then ask about your suspicions and statements that may have been made by the child. If you don't know all of that, that's okay. You don't need to know all of this to report abuse. They mostly just want the child's name. If you know the parents' names, that's great. And if you knew the school name, that's really important. But you don't need to know their address. They'll find that if they have the child's name and the parent's name. So here's what CPS does if they get a call. So they're going to get the call. An officer is going to go to the house and conduct an investigation. It will either be declared founded or unfounded. If it's found founded, which true, they're going to remove the child and they're going to find a family for the child to be taken in. You're probably not going to know the results of an investigation due to privacy laws. Remember, reporting child abuse is really hard and you're going to feel like you're doing the wrong thing, but it's better to report something that's not happening than not to report something and there is something happening. Okay? Thank you.